I pledge allegiance to the flag
When I look in the mirror, I see
of the United States of
a fractal of the land of the free,
America,
yet in distrust,
and to the republic
hysteria sets,
for which it stands,
no longer able
one nation,
to join in hands.
under God,
Such false pride,
indivisible,
apart together,
with liberty
torn apart,
and justice
rotten core.
for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
In the mirror, I see
to the flag
a fractal
of the United States
home of the free.
of America,
Train the youth,
one republic,
spoon-fed pride,
under God,
wire their insides,
indivisible,
us and them,
with liberty
unequal between he and she.
and justice
Three colors, stars if white.
for all.
What is it we truly fight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag,
Spoon-fed pride,
to the flag
star-spangled banner,
of the United States
red, white, and blue,
of America,
molded patriotic you.
and to the republic
Void of heritage,
for which it stood,
history swept,
one nation,
within our streets,
under God,
injustice kept,
indivisible,
shouts not debates,
with liberty
beat your chest,
and justice
with patriotic hate.
for all.
To the American ideals that I once stood, brainwashed in me from days of elementary, boasting pride from seas to sea, but within our borders, we fail to define free. Instead, this recycled jurisdiction prevails for those whose skin is pale. This current modern dilemma, while new, brings up problems of old. Unfinished progress left idle, now left to the youth to turn a history vile. A political machine amongst other kings, shielded by sensationalism and condemns us who think. This nation, which I am meant to idolize, holds very little but a false prize. Here we swing and protests come above those who petered out and became numb. More than one wave will soon arrive. In your hate, love will thrive. The future is coming and the times will change, but your persistence and prideful mistakes will be your downfall. In history books, it will be to blame. Welcome to the US of fucking A!
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boys in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drum coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Okay, these units in the pool, I got bodies here.
The majority of those who died today were children. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams.
A school shooting in South Florida. This took place
the
in
University of
Parkland,
Texas
Florida. At Douglas High School.
If the president wants to come up to me and tell me to my face that it was a terrible tragedy and how it should never have happened, and maintain telling us how nothing is going to be done about it, I'm going to happily ask him how much money he received from the National Rifle Association.
Dear NRA and corrupt Congress, a teacher packs their bags for school.
Setting up their classrooms with data posters to look cool. They don't pack heat, only inspiration. That's how you raise the nation.
Not in arms and violence, with equality, not bullies and silence.
I have a voice, and my colleagues do too, and we will keep talking to get through to you.
The generation that grew up with computers know more than you, so the generation with more school shootings knows what's true.
Fact of the matter is profits for guns. Pride and greed are what's hung.
Instead of these halos of innocence we grasp, we fail to take the evil or attempt to cut it in half.
I am no longer asking for you to just listen, while I see the smug gleam in your eye glisten.
You think you know behind that desk what it means to have bullets fly at you while your teacher is in a staff meeting.
You have no say in the pain and terror these kids feel. You bully and pester and deny what is real.
Sooner or later, our voices will be burst, hopefully before these guns prepare more hearses.
I'm running out of verses, but I want to say, you're a pathetic piece of trash watching kids die every day. Sincerely, the youth you wish to silence with silencers.
All curves and plastic. Monsanto's House of the Future is open to the public at Disneyland. The four-wing plastic shell makes a snug and solid 5-room dwelling designed for a family of 4. And coincidentally, it's a fairly typical family of 4 that gets first look. A family food center to store atomically irradiated food. A work trip that includes a combination of supersonic dishwasher and storage unit.
Tonight, a crucial test in China's biggest cities that have been in virtual lockdown to keep the coronavirus from spreading. People are still taking a lot of precautions. The streets here are unusually quiet. It's a city of 23 million people. It's like small town traffic. But now, millions set to return to work.
I'm sending a raven,
the SARS outbreak.
blackbird in the sky, sending a signal that I'm here. Some sign of life. I'm sending a message of feathers and bone. Just let me know I'm not forgotten out here alone. The air is cold and night is long. I feel like I might fade into the dawn. Fades until I'm gone. I'm so far from home, so far from home. Not where I belong, not where I belong. I'm so far from home, so far from home. I'm sending a raven with blood on his wings, hoping it reaches you in time, but you know what it means. 'Cause out here in the darkness and out of the light, if you get to me too late, just know that I tried. I'm so far from home, so far from home. Not where I belong, not where I belong. I'm so far from home, so far from home. So far. The air is cold and night is long. I feel like I might fade into the dawn. Face until dawn. I'm so far from home, so far from home. Not where I belong, not where I belong. I'm so far from home, so far from home. Not where I belong, not where I belong. So far from home. Not where I belong. So far from home.
A rosary clenched in a fist, meddling with wrist and pacing, waiting for the news to tell. In your backyard, tragedy hits.
Once in peace and now in bits, to have such vile things so close wounds the people, and we moan alongside the ghosts.
Although silenced by silencers, never forgotten or taken lightly, louder than the rounds of admonition.
This is enough. Already said, but how many dead bodies must pile in states?
Before we contemplate our safety, no one should ever have to leave.
Hoping to be,
at all times of the day,
bulletproof.
es como se siente estar en este cuerpo femenino roto. Así es como se siente estar solo. Así es como se siente ser yo. Te reto a que mires. Y una vez que mires, me aseguraré de que no puedes apartar la mirada. Frida Kahlo. This is how it feels to be in this broken female body. This is how it feels to be alone. This is how it feels to be me. I dare you to look. And once you look, I'm going to make sure you cannot look away. Frida Kahlo.
Oh my goodness, I would go and like walk wherever I want to, wearing whatever I want to, and like not have like 911 on speed dial with me.
I would get really drunk, like really, really drunk at a party.
A picnic in the park. I would love to be able to go and have a picnic in the park by myself and not have to constantly be like looking around me.
I'd wear whatever I want, first of all.
I would like go get the mail in the after when it's dark. I would go out like without fear. I would go to the grocery store and not walk back to my car looking under the cars and looking behind me and like clenching my keys. I would feel free to just live.
So 90% of me would feel way more free to do whatever I wanted to do. And I wouldn't be as scared. And I would do things as go for a walk at night.
I would go outside at night and take a nice walk.
I would love to go on a midnight stroll, like at nighttime when it's nice and cool, like either walk along the beach or just around my neighborhood.
I would walk by myself in a city, like in Little Tokyo. I would walk around by myself.
I would go for a walk at night without being worried that there's someone following me or looking at me or trying to do something. Yeah, I would go for a walk at night.
And I would love to just be at the beach all night until the sun rises. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
A lot of things.
I want them to just take the first no.
Stop objectifying us. We're human. We deserve respect.
If I could just say no and like have it stop, like everything just stop with one no, I feel like so many people would just feel so much safer if everything just stops after one no.
Stop catcalling.
Stop using staring as an excuse. I don't stare at you.
Staring is one.
Staring is a big one.
Stop thinking that you can say anything you want to me just because you have free rights, just because you have rights to say whatever you want. Words also hurt as much as physicality.
Just coming up to me in general.
Simply stop thinking that you're more powerful than women just because you have a penis.
I think they should really stop and think about like how their mothers would feel if they were in those dangerous situations. Like,
don't disrespect me just because you think you're superior.
Okay, to stop like feeling entitled to like a woman.
I think it really just comes down to doing the work as men. Do the work, to uncover all your trauma and address that so that you could be aware of the things that you're doing to women.
I was gonna say, stop going out. But that, yeah, like don't go out at night. And don't go out to parties, don't go out to bars. Like, just, like, you should be the one staying home. What? Oh, so the few fellows of men are okay. Like, that doesn't make me feel any better.
It's not all men, but it's most of the men, and that's a big problem and that's a big issue.
Oh God, it's dumb. Like, just because you think you don't do it doesn't mean that like the majority of men aren't like. What do you mean by not all men? Like,
Fuck off.
My response is if you're somebody that says not all men, you're probably one of the men.
there might be a couple, but that's still the majority, and like that's not good. Just because there's a couple men out there that like don't rape or like don't catcall, like a lot of them still do. So what are you talking about?
I don't like that phrase because every man is a part of the issue. Every man is part of the issue.
It's still your responsibility to call out your buddies when you see they are objectifying women in any way, shape, or form. It's still your responsibility. I don't care if it's not all men, because it's the bare minimum of like respecting women and treating us as human beings, not as objects.
Like, you're a troll if you say that. Like, you're a straight up troll, because that is not even a logical answer. Like, it is, but it's not like rational to like, are you even hearing what we're saying?
I don't, but I do want to read out a statistic. People with disabilities are sexually assaulted at nearly 3 times the rate of people without disabilities. 83% of women with disabilities will be sexually assaulted in their lives.
I think feminism is about equal rights for women and men, but it's also about like healing the men in our society. Like, I think a lot of it is about them and like being, like from being able to express their emotions to and just being like a healthy human being. I feel like they need that too. And we're all like really linked, so and I just feel like a lot of women take the brunt of like a lot of what they're dealing with. So yeah, I just feel like it goes both ways.
First of all, I didn't when we first started dating, I had gotten out of a really, 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 really hard relationship. And he was my best friend at the time. And like, we just jumped right into it. And I thought that was like okay and cool. But then I realized that was completely emotional manipulation till the max. And he was a compulsive liar, like to the max. And like, he lied about having cancer and so much shit like that. And he was one of the ones that just never took the first no. He would like wait until it was just like a yes, and then he just and then I remember one time I was like no, and then he was like whoops and did it. He said whoops and did it anyways, and I was like okay. I was upset, and I tried leaving him multiple times, and he said that he would kill himself if I did. And one time I was like, okay, this time for sure. And then we were in theater together, and he was like, I'll quit the show if you do that. And he was like my partner in the show, like where we did most things together. So he knew, and it was like my first time getting a bigger role. So he knew that if he quit the show, then it would completely ruin my parts. And I was like, okay, fine, like I'll stay with you. And he would like, even like when I finally did have the nerve to break up with him, he would post these things about like self-harm and like suicide and things like that. And it was just like really awful and terrible. But the thing is, he was still my best friend after that, because I was like, yeah, no, he's my best friend still. That was fine. Like, that was fine. And then like, I've done a lot of reflection since then. It's like, literally none of that was fine, like ever. Like I never wanted to do anything that he wanted to do, and that was a problem, but apparently it wasn't a problem. And he would lie so much and he would hurt me so much, and I never had a voice in that relationship. But since he was my boyfriend, I was like, that's okay. And he was my best friend before that, so it was okay. That shouldn't be okay, just because you should feel safe with someone. It shouldn't be okay. I guess that's the story that I'd like to tell.
Yes. I've been into an abusive relationship, and I have been raped, and I didn't know I was raped until, I don't know, a couple of months ago or like a year ago. I'm not sure when it hit me. So I was in this relationship and we were having sex, and I wanted to be there at first, and everything was doing great. And at some point I started to feel pain during the sex. So I asked him to stop, and he wouldn't stop. And then I said, can you stop? And then he wouldn't stop. And then I would repeat the same thing, can you stop? And he wouldn't stop. And then I try to use other words like, no, I need a break. I tried everything I could, and the guy didn't stop. And since in my brain, it wasn't his fault, because I wanted to be there at first. I just let him finish. So he did finish that. And after that, we kept going with our relationship normally, naturally. And after some time, the guy broke up with me. And me talking to my friends, when I started to like project and actually tell people what had happened, that's when I started realizing. It started hitting me. When one of the first friends that I shared that, she said, Luita, because I was like, I think I was sexually harassed. She was like, you were raped. Nowadays, this is very obvious for me, but it wasn't before. Today, I know that no means no. No matter how you say the no, it means no. But before that, I wasn't aware. And I feel that maturity is one of the things that helps you to just realize this type of thing. But yeah, I didn't know by then. And I'm okay to share that, because I feel that many women go through that. Just because you want to be there, you can change your mind at any point. So yeah, I'm fine now. I'm okay. And I'm more than happy to share that with like women that I feel safe around, just so we can prove how men are not the best creatures. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, actually. Now, I feel like the reason I want to tell this one is hopefully so that this can relate to like some other women that have maybe gone through the same thing. This is another story about one other time that I was raped, and I was really confused during the whole thing. Basically, I went on a date with this guy, and I met him at his house. Bad idea, don't do that. And we were talking and we were drinking. He kind of like persuaded me to do more shots than I wanted to and drink more than I wanted to. But at one point, for me, I love sex. I think it's so enjoyable. I love the feeling of it. It's great. However, in this instance, when he was pushing himself onto me, I didn't want it. I wasn't like super attracted to him, and I wasn't really like super in the mood like that. And yet he like pushed himself on top of me, and he was touching me, and it felt good, but I didn't want it at the same time. So
there was like this mix of emotions. And even though there was that mix of emotions and I still had that feeling of like, I don't want this, even though it felt good, I said no. And he didn't take my no's because I was moaning and because he knew I felt good. Even though I kept saying no, like, stop, please get off of me. And that's kind of like an instance where the men are like, oh, well, she's not really saying no if she's moaning. Like, I mean, obviously she likes it. I can keep going, even though I say no. So that was a difficult situation. And then I realized after like him like coming on top of me and everything, and when he was done, I had this realization, like, oh my God, like, I even said to him, I was like, you realize you just raped me, right? And all he said is, because, you know, he got off, he doesn't care at this point. He was just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, what do you mean you're sorry? Like, do you realize you just did this to me? Like, do you know how fucked up that is? And he just would say, oh, I'm sorry. And I grabbed my stuff and I left. I didn't really know how to feel at that point. Like, it didn't really hit me until like after like 10 minutes or so, like, oh shit, like that just happened to me, because there was that mix of emotions of like, oh, like this feels good, but I don't want it at the same time. And that can be difficult. And I don't know if anybody else has gone through that kind of thing or felt that way, but I'm sure that there are some girls out there, and don't be scared to like and enjoy sex. Like, even if you love sex and you want it, but this person's like pushing on you and you don't want that person, even though you love sex, like it's okay. Like, don't feel bad about that. But even though like something like that was done to you and it was wrong, yeah, it's okay to enjoy sex, ladies, but you know, if you're uncomfortable, don't let a guy do that to you. I mean, you can't help it, but yeah, anyways. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, that's one of my stories. Hopefully anybody can relate to that. Just know that it's okay. Like, you don't have to be ashamed.
I don't know. It just feels like yeah, this is for everyone to see, you know, but it's like our targeted audience feels like it's for men, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like everything, I don't know how they're gonna receive this.
Well, I think depending on their reaction, we'll know what kind of men they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told my friend there was no such thing as a perfect story. I said that in any case, hers was an external view of things. This assumption that the trajectory of a person's happiness, or let's say fulfillment, had peaked and now was trough because she had accidentally stumbled upon success.
It was premised on the unimaginative belief that wealth and fame were the mandatory stuff of everybody's dreams. You've lived too long in New York,
I told her. There are other worlds, other kinds of dreams.
Dreams in which failure is feasible, honorable, sometimes even worth striving for. Worlds in which recognition is not the only barometer of brilliance or human worth.
There are plenty of warriors I know and love, people far more valuable than myself, who go to war each day knowing in advance that they will fail. True, they are less successful in the most vulgar sense of the word, but by no means less fulfilled.
The only dream worth having,
I told her,
is the dream that you will live while you're alive and die only when you're dead. Prescience, perhaps. Which means exactly what? Arched eyebrows a little annoyed.
I tried to explain,
but didn't do a very good job of it.
Sometimes I need to write to think, so I wrote it down for her on a paper napkin. This is what I wrote.
To love, to be loved, to never forget your own insignificance.
To never get used to the unspeakable violence and the vulgar disparity of life around you.
To seek joy in the saddest places.
To pursue beauty to its lair.
To never simplify what is complicated or complicate what is simple.
To respect strength, never power.
Above all, to watch.
To try and understand.
To never look away. And never to forget.
nation of oppressed with power trips now unfolds in hysteric clips.
Nowhere to hide, patriots and brotherhood all will dwell yelling and misunderstood.
Phrase this, a simple key. I and you are me. You are me. You are me.
Individual voice louder than truth made us weak, no longer us stood.
For our pride spreads like infection as we clawed in paranoia against foreign protection.
Yet what is foreign is a country mixed, something unsettled repetitively twixt.
Outshines the seed that was rain trapped, and national pains we relapse.
For unalienable rights you claim to uphold disappear via loopholes of old.
To think that I and
You are me. Begs a future of.
possibility.
Be an American. Sometimes I'll be watching a British TV show and then they'll mention Americans and I'll be like, ew, how embarrassing. And then suddenly I remember that I'm American too. Yeah, I'm still in denial about it. Like, am I American? In theory, yes. In practice, not so much. A closeted American, if you will. Like, my perception of being American is so severely fucked that when I'm driving and I see a truck with an American flag on it, I'm like, aw, you're racist. Like, Brittany, what? I mean, most of the time it is true, but it's getting out of hand. I've come to associate patriotism with white supremacy. I have no idea what it means to be American. I'm blessed to be here, truly. My parents are from Mexico, and they have their citizenship now, but they fought hard to be here. I work at Starbucks, and my dad once told me that when he first came to this country, he walked past the Starbucks, envious of the workers and the customers, understanding this sort of separation and distinction between them being superior, whatever that means. And now, here I am, working here. And I think that's supposed to mean something, right? That I'm doing it right? Right? Be American? Right? I think my misperception of being American started when I found out that I was born here. I was born in Upland, California, but I didn't find that out until I was like 10 because my uncle accidentally told me. I was telling him about how I was born in Mexico, and he was like, no, what do you mean? You were born like 10 minutes from here. My parents just told me I was born in Mexico, and I believed it. I mean, I had no reason not to, or so I thought. And my poor brain was so confused. Aside from the obvious trust issues, I also gained a confused sense of self. I later found out that they told me this out of spite because I started preschool only knowing Spanish and not English, and I became ashamed of being Mexican and refused to speak Spanish. It breaks my heart that I used to think like that. And I'm glad my parents lied to me, honestly. Also, if it wasn't painfully obvious, I am pale, which always made me feel disconnected with being Mexican. I was the lightest in my family, and I didn't fit the stereotype of what people thought being Mexican was. But I didn't feel like the stereotype of what being American was. I was too American to be Mexican, too Mexican to be American, and I know that's such a cliche, but to me, America seems like this whole huge cliche. America, land of the school shootings, expensive education and medical care, racism, ignorance, the hate goes on. I mean, the list goes on. And they're true. I mean, ask any kid in the American public school system their plans for when a school shooting happens, and they'll tell you in detail. Or smartly keep it a secret in paranoia. College students cross the street without looking both ways, saying, "Pay my tuition." School kids are forced to recite a pledge of allegiance to a flag that they don't feel connection to. It's all very cult-like, honestly, looking back at it. I can't imagine how other countries see us. Probably like babies on steroids with nuclear weapons. I don't know. Which is why being American has become such a burden. Like, I'm sorry, universe, I'm American. But I was put here for a reason. Of all living beings in this universe of universes, I don't know. I was put on this floating rock, on this land, with this family. And that has to mean something. So here's to being a closeted American.
¿Qué significa ser mujer mexicana? ¿Cuáles son tus esperanzas y sueños? ¿Qué significa identidad y cultura? ¿Te sientes conectada con tu cultura? ¿Cómo te hace sentir escuchar el racismo sobre los mexicanos? ¿Qué esperas que cambie para el futuro? ¿Cuáles son tus experiencias como mujer mexicana en los Estados Unidos? ¿Qué tan importantes son tus raíces para ti? Explorar mi identidad, cultura y raíces es importante para demostrar cómo somos realmente.
Tu familia, tus raíces viene de personas mexicanas, de latinos, y que siempre los tengas en cuenta para también ellos tengan participación.
Chahua, I am Miguel Angel. I am the community that raised me. I am the dirty streets of Pomona, where the outcast and marginalized live together. I am the church, the panderias, the barbershops, the liquor stores, los parques, the street art that are all scattered around my hood, that bring me great nostalgia. I am a proud child of un jardinero que trabajó muy duro cada día en el sol. I am la tierra, el agua, el sol y el viento that I grew to love during the summers out in the fields. I am my father's migration from his pueblo de Pachuca Hidalgo. I am mis antepasados who had their languages, cultures, traditions, lives stripped away from them. But through resistance, I came to be. I am a survivor of mis abuelos' traumas from a system that preyed on their survival. Soy hijo de mojado y nieto de indio, and I say that with love, porque tengo mucho, mucho amor para mi gente y comunidad. Soy estudiante, chicano, activista, comunista y anarquista, pero lo más importante es, soy Miguel Ángel López.
Remember when people used to follow good principles? Kindness was the key and love was the answer. Who's gonna save us from all this we're living? Everyone is waiting for the end of this distortion, and you sing now. Oh, look at all these roses when I say wake up. If you're truly to make a great change during rough times like this, each new 10 years the gale increases, and who will give us a distant solution? I'm not in a hurry, but I lack some patience, and you sing now. Oh, look at all these roses when I say wake up. If you're truly to see the sun come up, because there's still some time for a new beginning, someone to bless our romances and poems, and to make people give instead of take. This distortion has to go so we can see some hope again, and you sing now. Oh, look at all these roses when I say wake up. If you're truly to see the sun come up, to see the sun come up.
A shooting a day seems to keep, progress shrivels away. A dog dies on a plane, action within days. Elongated trials in which injustice kept. BIPOC parties, allies targeted, view your missteps. This calculated hate, 400 days surpassed. Safety in the street lost to supremacy unlatched. Through mass genocide, the country proves itself inept. Culture unkept, histories erased. Nation built with knees to oppress. These aggressive tactics, xenophobia. Immigrants whom you seem to contest, of stolen jobs. Yet land not our own, breached in the past. Cherry-picked, this white knight or wizard snuck in and insist. Of these aggressions within our streets in hatred, fear-mongers and seeps, lack of support in sickness we weep. This neighborly past which once clung was simply segmented. Silent transgression, systems in place, no one won. For model minorities which you attempt to thrive, while you continue to kill each of us one by one, targets will move in order to hide your mistakes. Evasion of truth, fake narrative gaslit, to tear the people from the inside to bits. To be a woman carries the never-ending nightmare of being used, abused, and invisible to the demands of misogyny. A virus arises, jaded fingers that blame, frame. Asian Americans were the ones to take the fall. You build straw men and attempt to stall. A scary conspiracy I formulate, elders in fear to be overtaken by the next generation. Let them die. The structure to buy a safer future ruined. They do not understand, but we do. Bleed to death in classrooms, demand clean water, clamor for change. Disabled bodies are still seen as disposable. Ableism growing in the depths of silence. White supremacy feeding off the disposable through their guise. Their inherited omission is violence. Alas, this ageism we cannot participate. Those who fought with open ears will carry on, persevere instead of numb. This government fears our democratic duty, suppresses coming votes. Identities are at an intersection. They dismantle intersectionality, control our bodies to fit their religious views, but celebrate diversity. They think they can intimidate us, greed and money, and a market that they are caving in. Consequences coming. By letting guns fire off, body count is too high. Upon a year which you stand by, with little relief, Americans die. Any ounce of pride begins to dry, that neither left nor right, red or blue, turn the other cheek, deny what's true. This nation endlessly bleached to press forward our voices, bursting with empowered youth. Cultures collaborate, synthesize, identities reclaimed as we speak. We will stop flinching and start fighting.